Hey, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who have been here, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Crystal Jordan. So those of you who know me and those of you who've been watching know that I get on here and I pretty much tell y'all all my business. But what you don't know is I'm about to share a lot more than I've ever shared before. Actually, what I'm going to talk about today is something that most people really don't know about me at all. So this is my disclaimer, fair warning. I am ultra uncomfortable right now, guys. My god sister actually talked me into doing this video. I've been avoiding it for a while, and I let her choose from a list of topics that I had written down that I wanted to talk about, and of all the ones on the list, Lord, she chose this one. So can't run from it forever. Here goes nothing. Also, my disclaimer for those of you who could not handle my celibacy boundaries are BS video, and I'll post a link to that below. If you could not handle the strong content of that one, then you may want to get off now. If you cannot handle seeing me in a certain light, get off this video. Just fair warning. I'm not warning you again. Here goes nothing. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, and something that we kind of like brush off, and we actually try to pretend it doesn't really exist. It's a real thing, or oh, they just started, they just nasty, you know, they just like to get down. So today I am going to be talking about sex addiction. So as you guys know, I am celibate. But what you guys don't know is I am a celibate sex addict. I know those things sound like they don't really go together. You like, huh? That don't make no sense. How you celibate, you don't have sex, or how you a sex addict? I get it. It doesn't really sound like it makes sense, but I'm gonna put it all together for you. Okay. So sex addiction is something that I have been battling with for years and years and years, y'all. Again, this is something that I do not share. I'm ultra uncomfortable. You know, normally I just rattle stuff out. But it's something that I've been dealing with for years and never told anybody. So I've been struggling with sex addiction for a long time. I can't even like put a finger on when it started. I can't say high school because I feel like it's longer than that. So probably like middle school-ish. I don't know. It goes far back, and I'll explain some of that in some other videos. But it got really, 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 really bad in high school and college. And so for a long time, I didn't even know that I had an issue. I didn't even know that I had like a real life problem. Or, you know, I've heard about sex addiction, I read stuff, but never really I guess I identified with it, but never really wanted to come to terms with like, okay, yeah, you have a problem. You don't just like sex. You don't just enjoy having sex. You're not just a little bit of a thought, you know, you have a problem. And so for me, realizing that I have a problem was definitely the start. So by the time I got to college, I realized I was pretty much fully aware that, yeah, this is an issue. And it became a full-blown problem. Like, it spiraled out of control because it was kind of contained a little bit in high school simply because of the fact that, one, I was under my mother's roof. There was only so much I could do. Like, I had to sneak around and do that. But once you get to college and you're, like, living the whole I'm 18 and above grown life, it makes it a little easier to get into a place where things spiral out of control. So being at home actually helped contain my problem a little bit. Not really, because I basically lived a double life. So like out here tripping and nobody knew it because I was still doing great in school and, you know, seemed very wholesome. I carried myself very well. My name went in the streets. You would never know. But on the back end, I was sleeping with everybody. And so when I got to college, it just kind of spiraled out of control, mostly because of that freedom. And like I said, I didn't even realize that it was much of an issue at that time because I thought, oh, I just got some freedom and I didn't know what to do with it. And this is what happened. And it wasn't necessarily the case. And so what made me realize that it was an addiction was because sex wasn't necessarily just something that I liked to do. And it wasn't a want. It was a need. It was like vital and necessary to my life. And you're like, how can sex be vital and necessary to your life? But just like anybody has an addiction with cocaine or heroin or popping pills, you know, Percocets or whatever, or crack or whatever their drug of choice is, sex was my drug of choice. It was literally the go-to for everything. I had a bad day. I needed to have sex. I failed a test. I needed to have sex. I'm having a good day. I need to have sex. I wake up. Sex. I go to sleep. Sex. Like, I breathed too hard. I needed to have sex. Everything, it was just, it was like the air I breathed, literally. Like, that's how I saw it. And even when I didn't necessarily, I can't even say, okay, let's put it like this. Even when I wasn't necessarily horny, I still felt the need to have sex. It wasn't a desire. It was a, I needed this, like, to function, to the point where I always tell people, I did have narcolepsy. Narcolepsy played a huge part in me not being successful when I was at school. But now looking back on it, I also realized that my sex addiction did too. Because if I wasn't sleeping, sex was definitely at the top of the charts for me. Like I said, it didn't necessarily have to be a person that I desired to have sex with. I didn't have to like you. I didn't have to like how you looked. I didn't have to like your penis size. I didn't even have to like your stroke game. It was just like, get the job done. If you didn't get it done, you best believe I was going to get up, go take a shower, and move on to the next person until somebody got it done. Or just try all day until hopefully somebody did. And if not, then maybe I have to finish myself. And even then, that wasn't enough. So I realized that it was an issue because I was insatiable. It didn't matter how good the sex was. It didn't matter how big it was. It didn't matter how good you put it down. There was nothing that you could do to 100% satisfy me, including myself. That included porn. That included masturbation. All of that. It all rolled into one. So when I say sex addiction, it wasn't necessarily just penetration or having sex with another person. I had an addiction to porn as well, and masturbation. It all was rolled into one thing. Anything that was related to sex became an issue for me, to a point where I couldn't really connect with people either. So like the emotional connection with sex is kind of slim to none. And even when I talk to my friends about it, I'm like, oh, you was a whole nigga. Like, basically. I was kind of ruthless. And like I said, it wasn't so much of a I wanted to do it or that was my desire. It was just something that I literally felt that was needed. Like, I couldn't, okay, perfect example. I couldn't function. Like, I had a hard time concentrating if I hadn't had sex that day, if that makes sense. It's kind of like how you have ADHD and you need to take your medication to concentrate, or just like I'm narcoleptic and I need my medication to help me stay awake and help me concentrate. Even with that, it was like, if I haven't had sex today, like, well, some people can't focus without their coffee. They have a caffeine addiction. They can't function without their coffee. They go through withdrawal without their coffee. They get antsy, they get cranky. Some people get, they get shaky. They have tremors. Some people sweat. Same thing for me with sex. I went through withdrawal symptoms. Don't let me go a day or two or God forbid a week without having sex. I was literally going through withdrawal like someone who was on drugs. Sex has ruined relationships for me, and not in the aspect of, oh, the sex wasn't good, in the aspect of too much sex. Like, the demand was so much and the pressure for it was so much, because I would throw fits. I would throw temper tantrums. Like, what is wrong with you? Why don't you want to have sex with me? They're like, we just had sex. And I'm like, but I want to do it again. Like, it was a problem. I would cry. Oh my gosh. Don't say you're tired or whatever. I would burst into tears. And it had necessarily nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with me. And so that was when I realized, when stuff started like that started happening, was when I realized, like, okay, Crystal, you have a real life problem. And even being in a relationship, like, fidelity became an issue because of the addiction to sex, it made it very, very hard to stay faithful. Even if it had nothing to do with it. It had nothing to do with that person, whether or not I wanted to cheat on them. It had nothing to do with not, being satisfied by that person or whatever. It was like this unsatiable desire, and it didn't matter how much you did it, how much you gave it. At some point, it wasn't going to be enough. And I had to get it somewhere. I didn't care where it came from. And I would do my hardest, and I would boohoo cry and whatever, to be faithful to people. But that was my struggle for a very, very long time. And so for me, I got to a breaking point when I started putting myself in dangerous situations over sex. Like, I went through an online phase, and I told you guys I was sugar baby. I keep promising that story. I guarantee you it's coming. The fact that we have even gotten here is progress. I've been putting these off. So just know that the fact that I'm willing to tell you guys this means that story is coming. I promise. Be patient with me. But my online phase did lead to that life. And so in the midst of that, before I even got to that, I was doing things that were putting myself in danger for sex. And not because I wanted to be stupid and reckless, but because I was just like, I felt it was worth it. Like, whatever was necessary, I would do it. Literally, like, meeting people online. They would say the most disrespectful stuff to me. Like, basically, I just want to have sex with you, whatever, whatever. And for some reason, that was like, yes, go time. And literally, like, met a guy online. And the day I met him, saw him. He gave me he sent me a message online. He gave me an address. And I was like, cool, this is the address. When I had the free time, I didn't know I was coming. I went to that address. That was the day I met him. I literally drove to his house. He came outside. He looked like the guy that was online. And I was like, let's do it. Like, that was dangerous as hell. What the hell was I thinking? But not clearly in my right mind at all. Over like 15 minutes worth of sex, I saw it as worth it. And so when I realized that I was doing things like that, like things that were dangerous, and like, that man could have killed me. He could have chopped me up in a little bit of pieces. Thank God he had turned out not to be somebody crazy, but he could have been. Like, who knows? I didn't know him from a can of paint. Hell, don't know his last name to this day. And they're not, those weren't things that I was proud of, but nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew what I was doing. And I was doing things like this on a regular basis. And like I said, it didn't matter who you were. I didn't care. I mean, I had my limits, but few and far in between, and it really didn't take much to shake the limit. As long as I was in a place where I felt like I had to have it right then. And so that was kind of my breaking point for me when I realized that I was doing really dangerous stuff and endangering my life for the sake of sex on a regular basis, and I also live in this double hypocritical life. So that's part of what led to my desire to be celibate. And so my life as a celibate sex addict is, I would say, interesting to say the least, simply because it was a hell of a transition. So transitioning from letting the sex addiction literally run rampant and run my life and control my life, because my body's just like, do it now. And I'm like, I have to drop everything. I don't care. I got to call out of work. I got to skip class. I got to do whatever, sneak around, whatever I had to do to get it. It's just like if, pipes calling or whatever, same thing. And going from that to cold turkey was extremely hard. I went through withdrawal. I actually still do sometimes. And it's gotten a lot better. Like, I'm 3 years into the celibacy game. But I did it to save my life, because I realized that I have literally had threats on my life, over some of the things that I've done for sex or regarding sex. And so I had to do it to, like, it was just like stop or die. It was pretty much to that point. And so for me, going from that to nothing at all, yes, I pretty much went batshit crazy within the first year. Like, for the first couple months, I cried a hell of a lot. Like, sitting in a room, balled up in a ball, crying. I have cried over not being able to masturbate, because when I did stop having sex, I kind of took myself down in phases, because I knew that I couldn't handle straight cold turkey right away. So I went from having sex all the time, so okay, I'm just gonna have sex a little bit. I'm only have sex with this person. Now I'm only have sex with two people. And I'm only gonna have sex with one person every once in a while. And then I'm gonna cut him off, and then I'm just gonna stick with porn and masturbation. So I continued to let my porn addiction run rampant, and actually got a lot worse when I stopped having sex, because I was using it as an outlet to not have sex. Like, it was the go-to. And then I realized that it was also making it worse. And I desired even more because I wasn't getting it. So I had to get to a point where I cut masturbation off and porn off. And that's when it got really, really, really bad, y'all. So for me, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this, because it was more of a, I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And also that I realized I could not have healthy relationships like that. I had never really had a healthy relationship. And I realized that it had a lot to do with it. So once I decided to do that, I was okay. But I still go through it. I still tap and scratch like a freaking crackhead. Those who know me have seen me have full-blown meltdowns. If you have dated me, you have seen me have full-blown meltdowns. Even to this day, I realize that it's a daily battle. It's a daily struggle. There are things that I can't watch. There are things that I can't listen to. Like for the longest, I can finally listen to Tank When We. But when that song first came out, I was like, turn it off! I can't listen to that because it was a trigger for me. Um, and so now I'm kind of in a place like, yay! I'm making it, and it's hard. It's a struggle. I am not gonna sit here and pretend it is rainbows and ponies. It's not, but I'm doing it. So I just wanted to encourage those who are out there who have a sex addiction to keep pushing. If it's something that you desire to get under control, get counseling. I got help. There is nothing. Okay, sorry guys, my camera went out, but I was saying, don't be afraid to get help. So one of the biggest things that I did do was I decided that it was time for me to ask for help. And like I said, this is something that I don't talk about a lot. Most of the people who know me don't even know about this, so surprise! Sorry for those of you who are finding out on YouTube. Like I said, if you can't handle it, get off my video. But at this point, I'm in a place where I have to tell my truth. And so getting help was a big part of it for me, getting counseling. I did reach out to, I'm very, very thankful to have people in my circle who are counselors and life coaches and things like that. And so I actually did not start getting real counseling and real help for my sex addiction until I was already well over a year into my celibacy. And like I said, I was still fighting and struggling for my life, like on a daily basis. To the point where I was having like a nervous breakdown because I was trying to do it on my own. And I was trying to, oh, I can do this. I can keep this thing under control. And I honestly felt like celibacy was the answer to my addiction, which I quickly learned is completely wrong. I still have other reasons for my celibacy, which is why I continue to do it. It is definitely helpful to me to stay celibate. But I also realized that without that counseling piece and without that help, nothing was going to change, because I would go, say I was to get married tomorrow and I had not gotten the help and I was not getting the counseling. But as soon as I started having sex, it was all going to go back to the same thing and probably 10 times worse, God forbid. And that was my biggest fear, getting to a place where I desired marriage and children, and I wanted to live a certain lifestyle and have healthy relationships. And my biggest fear was allowing something like sex to come in and destroy all of that, like to build a family, to build a home with someone, and then have my inability to control sex to come in and shut that down terrified me. So that's really what drove me to stop. And then also having children, and I worked with teenage girls. And so I felt like a huge hypocrite, because I would tell them all these things, and don't do this and don't do that, and carry yourself like this and carry yourself like that. And then I would walk out of the door of work and do the complete opposite of everything I said. So I felt like a huge hypocrite. And it just made me feel like, okay, this is what your life is going to be like if you have children and you don't get this under control. And also the fear of people finding out what I was doing behind closed doors, like the fear of that coming to the forefront without me telling it. Like, yeah, this is still scary now, but the fear of it just coming out, like somebody scrolling on a website and me popping up, or they Google my name or whatever, or they find out, or some rumor gets started, that was even more terrifying than what I am doing right now. Still is to this day. So now that's over with. Don't have to worry about anybody telling my business, because I told it myself. So if there's anybody out there who wants to help me, too late. I already did it. It's done. But I just wanted to come on here and encourage someone who is struggling with sex addiction. I know a lot of people really didn't believe me. Even the people, I can't say a lot of people because no people know, but the people who are close to me, a couple of the ones who did know were kind of like, you don't have a lot of sex addiction and you just like to have sex. And so it was kind of hard for people to understand. So I strongly, strongly urge, please, 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 please reach out, get help, find a support group, get counseling, do something. Get yourself around someone who understands. And when I say get yourself around somebody who understands, please be careful with that. I am not saying go link up with another friend who has a sex addiction, because your intentions may be great to support that person. And your intentions may be, oh, we're going to do this together and we're going to overcome this together. But if neither one of you are getting help, it goes left fast. Trust me, been there, done that. Say birds of a feather flock together, kindred spirits, all that stuff. Very, very much true. And so what I realized is that I was attracted to certain people in my life, not because of what they could offer me, but because we had the same sickness. We had the same illness, and we thought in our heads that we were going to help this pretty little picture, and we were going to help each other, and all we were doing was making things worse. Because it'd be like, oh yeah, girl, I'm going to help you, and let me tell you about what I used to do. And so now we're sitting here sharing stories, and it's innocent, and it's, not with the intention of encouraging it, but now we're like, oh, girl, for real? Oh, I did that too. Do you remember such and such and such? And so now it comes to the point where it kind of glorifies it. So it did help when I stopped doing that and stopped trying to do it on my own, because I was in a space with someone who, I was in a space with people who had the same problem, but I'm also in a space with someone who has the tools and has the skills and the training to actually counsel me through it and identify where certain things were coming from it. Okay, where did this behavior come from? How did it start? How do we correct this? What's the alternative? Blah, 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 blah. Just like, you anger management, you get 12-step program, things like that. So get counseling. There's nothing wrong with getting help. It can be 100% anonymous. It is going to be 100% anonymous because counselor can't tell your business anyway if they wanted to. They're under confidentiality agreements, y'all. And I think that's something that people have to understand about talking to a counselor. They can't tell your business if they wanted to. If you are not going to harm yourself or harm somebody else, they cannot open their mouth. So if I walk in there and tell them I don't have sex with an entire football team, who are they going to tell? Nobody but Jesus. He already know. So safe space to definitely get it all out. And also find some unbiased solutions, because you can talk to your friends and stuff about it. That's great. And then I'm not saying that it can't be helpful, but from people who know you, they're still biased. So coming to someone that was a complete stranger for me and kind of talking about that was definitely helpful, because they weren't speaking from a friend standpoint. They weren't speaking from a family standpoint. They were speaking from, hey, this is what you have going on with your life. Let's address the issue. Point blank, period. I could care less about your family members. I could care less about your friends. Let's address this problem and get you better. So again, like I said, I just wanted to come in here and encourage you guys. If you are struggling with sex addiction, it's definitely something that can be overcome. It is not going to be easy. I will not lie to you and tell you that it will be easy. It is a daily fight. Just like it's a fight to get off of any other drug or any other addiction, whether it be, pills or another drug or alcoholism, anything like that. It's a fight. Everybody has an issue. It's just a matter of identifying what it is. And so I think the hardest thing about sex addiction is because it is like my addiction was a violation against my own body. Because it's literally like I have to live inside of my body, and my body is my own addiction. It's crazy. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. Is my body is my own addiction, and I'm stuck with it. I had to live inside of it. So reach out, get help. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you just want to vent, if you just want to talk, if you're going through it, somebody who's going through it, you need somebody to relate to, you need to get it out, please feel free to reach out to me. You guys, like I said, if you're comfortable, drop it in the comments. If not, you can email me at acceptingtheunacceptable@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Facebook. My first and last name is Crystal Jordan, and Crystal is spelled Krystal. It's Crystal like a K, like the burger. Think of the restaurant. And then as well on Instagram at Couture with Crystal. And the couture is also spelled with the K. I changed. So it is Kouture with Crystal. So, like I said, I want to hear what you guys think. And have a good night.